So I live in this small Ford Transit Connect. I travel around and make and sell jewelry. I've been running my jewelry business full time ever since I moved into my van. So typically I'll pull out my tools whenever I can so I can work on rings. For the past few weeks, my friend Bella and I have been road tripping up the West Coast. We just finished waterfall hunting in Oregon and now we're in Washington. So here's what we've been up to ever since we got here. So after traveling from San Diego all the way to Washington, which is where we are now, we spent so much money on gas. And while I have some savings, I make most of my money by selling jewelry. So once we got to Washington, I had to take a few days to actually work on some stuff. I recently decided that I want to make grills. So lately I've been practicing making molds and taking impressions. I really enjoy working in nature, especially by this river. It was so beautiful and very peaceful. I took a break to cut a watermelon, like watermelon in the middle of the forest. Are you kidding? Can't imagine a better day. I pretty much worked the whole day on jewelry until it got dark. Although I do enjoy working outside in nature, the main con about it is the amount of time it takes me to set up all of my stuff. And sometimes I'll just forget tools in my van and have to keep going back and forth. And if the weather's bad, you're definitely gonna have a bad day, especially if it's windy. And it sucks because sometimes I don't have a choice because I have to ship out my orders. But being a full-time artist is my dream job, so it's worth it. So for some reason, it was really hard for us to find camping spots in Washington. I think because the elevation is so high and there's so many mountains, there's just not that many roads. So we spent a lot of mornings on random side roads. There was a park that I wanted to see ever since the idea of van life came into my mind, and that was the Hall of Mosses. Before I even got my van, I remember I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw a photographer take a picture of some forest, and it was the most beautiful forest I'd ever seen, and I was like, where is that? I looked the picture up on Google, found out it was the Hall of Mosses. So coming here was really special to me because I had been thinking about it for so long, and it did not disappoint. We ended up camping right outside of it and going back a second day. There's like one road to get to the park and it goes for miles, and there wasn't very many places to camp, but the struggle of finding a spot was worth it because the park was beautiful. Cape Flattery is the furthest northwest tip of the United States, with stunning views of the Pacific Ocean and wildlife. Yeah, I'm reading this off Google, but it was okay. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, like, mind you, this is pretty, and I am spoiled at this point. But I'm pretty sure we had to pay like 20 or 30 bucks for a permit, and just to look at some water, I don't know. I don't think it was worth it. So at this point, we didn't really have a plan. We were just going from place to place trying to find cool things. We went to Lake Crescent, which is a pretty popular lake in Washington. And when you hear lake, it sounds lame. But no, it's like actually the coolest lake I've ever seen. It's super blue because of like the minerals in the water. We went on a hike to the Devil's Punch Bowl, and it just looks like a big bowl of Gatorade. Very cool, definitely worth it. We did jump in the water and it was freezing. And then we went to this random waterfall, and I genuinely do not remember what it was called. So me and my friend Bella were traveling together, but we both have our own businesses. So there were days where we would kind of part ways to work on stuff. And this day specifically, Bella was in town getting Wi-Fi and I was just chilling by the river. This is probably one of the most memorable mornings I had while traveling. I remember that my eggs cracked in my fridge and I had to clean them up. And this camp spot specifically was just so pretty, like being next to the river. There was a lot of open space. I'm pretty sure we slept here for like a week. I also remember this was the same day that Billie Eilish dropped her album, and I listened to it like 4 or 5 times. And yes, I know I shouldn't wear headphones in the middle of the forest, but honestly, my headphones kind of suck, and I swear they're not noise canceling, so I could hear things, guys. But yeah, that is definitely something I should probably think about. To be honest, the fear of bears and mountain lions is very much there. I would say mountain lions are probably my biggest fear. I don't like cats. I don't like big cats, little cats. I do like kittens. I'm not gonna lie. Kittens are cute. Every park we went to had signs about bears or mountain lions, so I carried bear spray all the time. Multiple cans, one in my car, one on my body. But thankfully we never actually saw any, so that's good. So having a small van is not for the faint of heart, because I swear you have to clean it every 5 minutes. I spilled an entire bag of chia seeds on my floor, so I decided to just do a deep clean. And also, here's a little tour of my van. You guys have seen the fridge. It holds like a week's worth of groceries. I also have this pull-out bed, but I've never pulled it out. I have bungees and pouches everywhere because it just helps keep things contained. A pretty good battery setup, lights, and a decent size counter space. I have a fan, which is essential, especially when you're cooking inside, and then a little shelf to hold my vitamins. I put all of my clothes up at the top. 14 gallons of water with a double filtration system, a magnet knife holder, which is actually super helpful, and then a small garage space for all my tools, which is actually essential. I use my tools all the time. There's also a shower tank on the side of my van, which I've never used. It's nice to know that it's an option though. Those are my water tanks, and then I also have a diesel heater, which I think is the best part. That's like the number one thing I recommend someone have. I took my front seat out so that I could store all my small business tools in bins, and then I have this emergency bathroom set up for when I'm camping in the wilderness. It's actually super helpful, and I have used it quite a few times. A lifesaver when I got stuck in the desert. I keep saying I have favorite camp spots, and it's just so hard because everything is so pretty. But we found this one camp spot in the mountains. There was like so much space, but it was also super secluded. It looked like it had been used for work or something. It was like tons of sand, but it was perfect because there was forest all around us, but like not in our space. I do recall there being very little service here though. I spent some time working on my business again. I mainly sell rings, but I started my business with beaded necklaces, and I still love making beaded necklaces, so that's what I did. Set up my table, pulled out my beads, started working. This looks calm, but it was actually really windy, and it was kind of snowing / raining a little bit. Nonetheless, it was very peaceful, and working in the mountains, honestly doing anything in the mountains, is kind of just life-changing in general. It was just so secluded, quiet, and peaceful. These were the necklaces that I made. They turned out so good. Each necklace takes me about an hour. It is not a fast process, but it is enjoyable, and I really like coming up with new designs. We spent a few more days in this spot and then headed off to our next location. Little did we know we were in for a very interesting adventure, so I'll tell you about that in my next vlog, and thanks for watching.